Welcome to the Woodpreneur Podcast, the best podcast for the business and marketing side of the sawmill, lumber, and wood industry. What's a woodpreneur? If you have a business where you make money as a woodworker, sawmill owner, selling slabs, or a content creator, then you're a woodpreneur. My name's Steve Larosiliere, and I started Woodpreneur Life, Acres of Timber, and the Woodpreneur Podcast just for makers, wood entrepreneurs, and small business owners just like you. We're on a mission to empower thousands of wood businesses to grow sustainably and put out great products. Each week, I interview makers, sawyers, content creators, and 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs that know the wood industry inside and out. With topics covering everything from the urban lumber movement, sustainable sourcing and design, we'll discuss the ins and outs of how to grow, monetize, and fully immerse yourself in the woodpreneur lifestyle. If you're a hobbyist, a full-time wood business owner, part-time entrepreneur who wants to become a content creator, or quit your day job to pursue your dreams, the Woodpreneur Podcast is just for you. Thanks so much for listening. Now enjoy this episode. Hey, welcome to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur Podcast. Is your host, Steve Larosiliere. Today's guest is Dan Sullivan from Navillus Woodworks. How you doing, Dan?
Good. How are you, Steve?
Great. We just found out we're in the same city, which is very exciting. So I have another friend somebody to go and visit. Tell everybody about Navillus. How'd you get started?
Navillus is a custom fabrication business. That's the easiest way to sum it all up. Another way would say that we're a millwork company. We build interiors, but we do furniture. We do artist fabrication, sort of increasingly more and more of that as well. We've started out residential, as a lot of businesses like mine do, and then but are pretty well diversified now, do a lot of commercial work. And like I said, it's sort of equally spread between furniture commissions, between millwork and artist fabrication and museum work. So we've been doing a lot of work for the Art Institute of Chicago, helping with renovations of galleries, which is, they always have something that they need done. So we've done a number of projects for them in the last year.
Awesome. And how long has the business been in? How long have you been in business?
Well, I like to say that I started out on my own in 2006. That's when I bought my house on the west side and renovated it. And from there on, it does kind of mark a point in which I was finding my own work, getting my own contracts and bidding jobs, doing whatever. The first couple of years, the first 10 years, I ran a remodeling company. And it's a good place for people to start if you're looking to get out on your own and you're interested in the trades, you're handy, you're willing to work 60 plus hours a week. Remodeling is a great place to start. Everybody's got a kitchen or a bathroom that needs to be updated. You don't have to work for rich people. You can work for folks that are probably more in my income bracket, and try and find a way to get them what they need. And walk away with a little bit of money in your pocket and hopefully with a smile on their face.
Awesome. And what led you to this field and craft? Like before you did all of this, like what were you doing?
Well, I grew up in Maine, and my dad had a little wood shop. He is a retired neurologist, but a great craftsman and hobbyist in general. So I had access and exposure, motivation at a young age. And then I had really good shop teachers when I was in junior high and in high school. They taught me all the basics of shop safety, how to operate tools safely. And then in college, I studied, I didn't really study anything to do with business or design or woodworking. I studied art and then music and Japanese. So by the end, I was spending most of my time in the music building and in the Asian languages department. And that was in Minnesota. And I came down to visit my brother who was living in Chicago. This would have been the mid 90s. And he and all of his friends were part of a really terrific community of artists and musicians. And I said, well, this is where I'm moving. So I came down after graduation and I found a job working at the School of the Art Institute, signing people up for classes. That's where I met my wife, a very accomplished conceptual artist named Adra Soto.
Yep.
And then I only lasted about a year there. And then I just kind of started freelancing. I was working on a trim carpentry crew. I worked at the Museum of Contemporary Art, Chicago, as a preparator. I worked in small galleries. I drove a van for the Chicago International Film Festival. I was just hustling up whatever kind of work I could, all the while playing music. So I was touring a bit nationally, overseas as well, playing in indie rock bands. And then around the time I turned 30, it became apparent that I wasn't going to make any money playing music. I still play music all the time, but I couldn't find a way to extract any dollars from that passion. And so I just leaned into what I was already doing a lot of, which was, I was working in a small shop. We were doing metal work. I was welding. I was doing a little bit of ironworking, a lot of cabinet making and woodworking, and also some renovations. So it was just sort of a natural point for me to jump off and start going out on my own.
Incredible. And then, so when you moved to East Garfield, that's when like you started with the renovation, and then what caused the real pivot to Navillus?
Well, when I was doing the renovations, it would come up. I'd be doing like literally my friend's, bathroom or kitchen renovation, and they'd say, "Well, we need another cabinet here. We need a vanity. We need a little bench. We need a built-in bookcase." And I always jumped at those. I was always, like, "Oh, I'm all over that for sure." So I was kind of finding those commissions wherever I could and incorporating them into my small remodeling projects. And those projects got kind of bigger and bigger. The reality is that in the remodeling world, there's a lot of incompetent, distrustful people. And if you present yourself to folks, even if you're not very experienced, like I wasn't, they're probably, but you present yourself well and you present yourself as an honest person. You pick up the phone every time they call, then you're going to have work, because mostly what people are looking for is someone that they trust, and someone they can leave in their house and they can say, "Here's some money, and I need you to go hire an electrician, and I need you to make sure that the work is done right."
Yeah.
So that was a great crash course in learning how to run a business, how to manage a budget, how to manage a client, how to understand homes, all of the systems that go into making a home work, all the HVAC and the plumbing, the electrical, the insulation, the roof, the windows, all of that stuff. And but all the while, I was kind of trying to find a way to do more and more what I would call custom fabrication, commissions, built-in stuff like that. And I was very fortunate to connect with 5 other gentlemen of a similar age in a similar place in their careers. And these guys weren't in remodeling; they were doing cabinets and furniture. But we created a collective, which became the Doc 6 Collective, which is a known entity around Chicago. We kind of pooled together our tools, so we were able to put together a really nice wood shop and a decent metal shop. We leased a large space in Avondale, so just west of Logan Square. And we were there for about 8 years. And then that building went into foreclosure. The building owners just kind of left it go into disrepair and so on. And so at that point, we said, enough of this. We need to get our own building. And the 6 of us were able to find a really terrific building, kind of right on the Oak Park border. The neighborhood is Austin, or it's Belmont Cragen. It's kind of the border of those 2 neighborhoods in the city. And it's 2 floors, about 50,000 square feet. We renovated the building, and we set up our individual businesses there. We made a nice office, which we didn't have a nice office in the other space. We didn't have a good break room. We didn't have enough toilets, because in the interim, in those 8 years, the 6 businesses all grew quite a bit. And so we went from being literally 6 guys to, a shop of about 30 people showing up every day.
Wow.
And then once we moved into to our digs at 2100 North Major, we business has been pretty good, pretty solid. It's definitely a long path. Doing this for as long as we've been doing it, and you have ups and downs and all that stuff. But
Yeah,
it's been a good ride for sure.
That's awesome. What did when you first started, and when maybe when you like moved into this to the new location, like what did growth look like back then, and did it match where you wanted to be, like in terms of the growth in the infrastructure of the business?
It's a good question. The growth was all very organic. It was completely tied to the contracts that I was able to get. And so when we moved into 2100 North Major, I still had my general contracting business, the renovation business that was called Two Lights Contracting.
Yeah.
And that was very helpful during that transition. If you've ever moved a shop, or to anyone who's ever moved a shop, it's like a major, major production. It's just big, heavy tools. It's a lot of materials. It's a lot of planning and so on. And, it effectively shut all of our businesses down for about a month. And I was able to keep a little bit of money rolling in by continuing to do the renovations. So all of that is just a way to answer your question that, the growth was, you'd like to think there's a plan, but if it's your first time out and you're not some kind of MBA and you're following a passion, which for all of us was like, design and craft, woodworking, metalworking, then, probably the plan is going to be something that comes up around you. The plan is you're going to work 60 plus hours a week. You're going to hustle to find your next project. You're going to wear all the hats. You're going to do your own bookkeeping at first. You're going to do all of your own estimating. You're going to do your own fabrication, your own finishing, your own drawings, your own installation. You're going to move the darn stuff to the job site yourself. And little by little, in my case, I was able to start, hiring on help. And that was based on getting a little bit of breathing room financially, right? So the first thing that most people are going to outsource is that bookkeeping, right? And then maybe from there they're going to outsource, drawing, which is something I did. I found someone, my friend Wyatt Mitchell, who's a terrifically talented software engineer of all type, and he was able to suddenly really up my game with my drawings. And by around what would I say? Maybe 2017 was maybe the last renovation contract I took, and I was able to fully pivot into just building custom fabric, just focusing on custom fabrication. But for years, the remodeling subsidized the custom fabrication.
Yeah. Yeah. Your stuff, um, your work and the way you position yourself like makes it look super high end, and like how do you say it? It's like it looks like it's art, right? Like
Oh,
it looks like
cool.
art. Was that sort of like from I don't know what your website looked like 7-8 years ago, but like what how did you start evolving your eye and sort of start to like position Navillus more of as a brand versus
Well,
it's like a wood
some of
shop?
it literally is art. I mean, thank you for that. Some of it is art. We're building art for artists. There is a sculpture at the Art Institute of Chicago right now by a terrific artist architect named Jermaine Barnes, who grew up on the west side of Chicago. His solo exhibition is in the Modern Wing, up adjacent to the Architecture and Design Gallery.
Mm-hmm.
And so my wife is an accomplished artist. My friends are artists. I think that there's a lot to take away from hanging out with artists.
Yeah,
They tend to think less practically. To me, how I define an artist or making art is you're trying to solve your own problems, right? Whereas with
mm-hmm.
design, I can't take credit for this. A friend of mine said it, and I thought it was so smart. Design, you're trying to solve someone else's problems, and with art, you're trying to solve your own problems, right? And so that could be music, or it could be writing, it could be visual art, it could be a sculpture, whatever. And they might not know how they're going to get there, and
Mm-hmm.
especially if the artist is a conceptual artist like my wife is, or like Jermaine is, the medium is going to serve the concept.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a great way to think. We all have mediums that we work best in, that we excel in. For my business, for me personally, woodworking, secondarily metal working, and uh, but start with your idea, and then how do you get there? What are the tools that you're going to use to get there? What is the process that you're going to design to get there? And I think that's something that we can all take away from artists. Alternately or inversely, you could look at a sheet of material. Say it's a very nice veneered piece of veneer core, and you could say, what can I build from this? Okay, well, that's definitely a different set of challenges to address, and it's a different approach.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. So can you talk about your team makeup right now, like internally
sure.
with you? What does that look like?
It's a team of 11. So there's myself, there's Wyatt Mitchell, who does most of the drawing and design engineering. There's Remy Bordas, who does a great deal of drawing and design engineering, as well as project management. Remy's very much boots on the ground. There's Jessica Vargas, who's my office manager. There's Caroline Robe, who is a project manager, an estimator, and an installer. And then there's Mark Nemechek, who is a CNC operator. There's Cliff Freeman, who's a lead benchman. And then there's about 5 other people as well, who are in varying tiers of entry-level positions. There's Clayton Phillips. I shouldn't classify him as such. He's an extremely talented woodworker and an art student graduate. Reagan Kilzer, Sabina Klodgo, and Tegan Pritchard. It's important to put people in places to succeed. Sorry, there's also Ty, who just started on and is a design student, came from Indianapolis. So putting people in places where they're going to be effective, where they're going to be challenged, where they understand that they've really got a specific job to fill. Getting good opportunities for entry level for people, providing really good direction, really good management, from the upper levels, and then having people in the middle who are able to provide, really specific direction on the floor or in finishing or on a job site installing, to help those younger people kind of come up to their level.
That's awesome. What did you figure out early was your like the lane that you wanted to live and occupy? And let's just say, this other thing, you're like, I can't do it. I really want to, but I don't really want to. Like, for sometimes it's like finish, right? Because finish is such a skill. You
Sure.
need the space, you need the infrastructure. Like, was there any part of your business that you're like, what? I just want to own this lane and I will either outsource or, do whatever, but not.
Well, we do outsource. We partner with specialty shops all the time. So we might find ourselves needing to work on a scale with some metal work or using tools. This could be CNC water jet cut, CNC laser cut, plasma cut. It could be large bent metal components. It could be sandblasting, powder coating.
Mm-hmm.
These are things that are done in specialty shops that have those specific tools, right?
Yeah.
And what my shop has is a really badass wood shop.
Yeah.
But it would be kind of crazy for me to be like, well, I'm going to get all of these tools, no, it's better just to leave certain things to other specialists.
Yeah.
That's very analogous to when I was remodeling, and I worked for some people that did remodeling, and they would do everything themselves. They would do all of the plumbing and all of the electrical work. They would do the demo work, and I did that work alongside of them. And when I went out on my own, one of the first things I did was say, well, I'm not going to do any demo work. I don't need to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm slow. I don't have a place. I don't have a giant truck to put it in. I don't have a contact or where to dump it. I'm going to outsource that like immediately. Same with the electricians. Same with the plumbers. They're going to get it done faster and they're going to do a better job. And I'm going to mark it up and I'm going to make a little money off of, managing them, making sure it's done correctly and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that when we're building projects specifically for artists, for my wife, she has a sculpture in Central Park in New York right now. There's 2 main components in it aesthetically. There is a lot of cast concrete, which is very beautiful. And it's a specific color and texture. And we worked with a company out in West Chicago called Architectural Cast Stone. That's all they do. When you go out there, it is a turnkey operation for architectural, aesthetic, mostly components. That is to say, non-structural concrete components that might be put on the side of a building, might be attached to the side of a bridge, It's
Hmm.
all the pretty part of the concrete thing that you're interacting with. The other part of it was a lot of CNC water jet cut Corten steel.
Yeah.
And so we did zero fabrication in my shop on this. We did all of the engineering, we did all of the project management, and I went out to New York and worked overnight doing the install with our installer riggers who work out there in New York, right?
Yeah.
And uh, so again, it's like, what is the end goal, and what's the best way to get there,
Yeah.
with respect to not just results, but of course time and budget.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. What how do you get most of your projects now? Like what's your marketing strategy?
We do a limited amount of marketing. I've always been really diligent. So, you're just commenting on our website. Thank you. This is, I think, my fourth website in, maybe 15 years. Literally throw it out, start again. And in my experience, it's just totally necessary. Like, you can add content and you can fine tune things. And then at a certain point, you're like, this isn't representing the business anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of the most obvious thing. Social media obviously is basically free. It just sucks your time and then scrapes all of your content out of it, right? So in a sense, it isn't free, but like, I am pretty diligent about getting that post up once a week. Sometimes that feels kind of like pulling teeth because I'm not. I just try and limit my time on social media. I have many other things I like to do, and it's not a place
Yeah.
where I want to make sure I'm not putting too much time there.
For sure.
Uh, we do limited amount of advertising. It's hard. Advertising's tough. Print media is tough because it's kind of expensive and you don't know if it's really working or not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But we do a certain amount of targeted advertising. There's a local publication in Chicago called New City, which is really a great arts and culture publication. We're really fortunate to have that here in Chicago. And I'll place an ad or two with them a year. Also, some trade publications. I'm just starting to do some SEO work with the new website.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, I just try and make time for folks like you who are generous enough to reach out and curious to know what we do. It's important to just try and get through all of the noise, man. It's like a really crowded media landscape out there, as
It
you,
really
I'm
is. It
sure,
really is.
very aware. So,
Cool. Very cool.
mhm.
What on a I mean, walk me through like so with the team of 11 people, what does your typical day to day look like?
Sure. Get to the office around between 8 and 9. Usually everybody's already in place working. And I will have a management team with Remy and Wyatt, specifically, Caroline, if they are in as well, in which Wyatt created a relational database using Airtable, which is a software you're probably familiar with. And so
Yeah.
we use that as our project management software,
Mm,
try to be sort of the catch-all for all of our information, scheduling, projects that are active or on hold, or proposals that are TBD. And so we'll run through and just make sure that we're on top of whatever needs to be addressed at that moment, right?
mm-hmm.
And then from there, it's important to connect with everybody that works with me. Just make the rounds. What are you working on? How's it going? What do you need? Is this a challenge, or is this going smoothly? Just trying to track everybody and stay involved as much as I'm able to, while giving them the independence and the space they need to work.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, there's all of the communications, and that's going to be kind of interspersed throughout the day. So that would be client interface mostly, um, and managing people's expectations, which is a huge part of every business. Is they want to know when they can get it. They want to know if it can be cheaper.
Yeah.
They want to know why they're a little annoyed about something. That's really my job, is to be that first point of contact. Caroline has done really great work with me in estimating. That has helped me a great deal in terms of getting getting estimates to people sooner.
Yeah.
Previously I was doing all of that work myself, and that was problematic just for turning things around quickly. But also, it's really helpful to have another set of eyes, double checking all that work,
Yeah.
getting a second set of opinion. I think it might take this much time. Someone else is like, "Are you crazy? It's going to take twice as long as that." And
Yeah.
so then there might be a site visit. This morning I was over at Salt Shed. I don't know if you've been to Salt Shed, but we
Yeah.
did a lot of work there. We're talking about another small project there. I might have to go down to the Art Institute to meet with someone. I might have to go on site, someplace else. So it's cool. It's like the shop is definitely home base, but there's lots of necessity to get out in the field and get some fresh air. But it's also, when I was running the remodeling business, man, I was just like in my truck, like 5 hours a day, fighting traffic. It kind of drove me crazy. So it's nice to not be needing to drive from the north side to the west. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's not as
Chicago's so
crazy.
big. It's so big.
Yeah,
It's so big.
yeah.
Cool. All right. So this is a part of the podcast where you get to ask any marketing or business advice. Is there anything that you need to think about or think through, or you want some ideas, or you want an extra set of eyes and ears on, like something that keeping you up, or something you'd
I
like to
think
do?
that thank you for this opportunity. What is distinctly a challenge, and one that I haven't really figured out, is how to sell our original in-house design furniture. We've had some great success doing this. If you've seen that show, The Bear,
Mm-hmm.
furniture that I designed and that we built populates the restaurant that they
Amazing.
open. Right,
Amazing.
super cool.
Yeah.
I know. And that came to me through the art director of the show, who's a woman that I've known, and she said maybe Dan has an idea, and it just like led to this really amazing opportunity.
Yeah.
We've sold our furniture to restaurants, but it remains a really, really difficult field to break into. And I meet young people all the time, and folks that are my age and older who are still trying to figure out how to crack that nut.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and the reality is that we're competing in a global marketplace.
Yeah.
You're competing with the great designs of history. Like if the best Corbusier designed furniture
Yeah.
is still licensed and in production 200 300 miles from here in Western Michigan, right? So how do we create something that is compelling to people? It obviously needs to be durable and functional, comfortable, and it needs to be in a price point. So do you have any thoughts on that particular puzzle?
Yeah, that's it's so interesting. So you've been around since, let's say you said 17 or no 2007, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Um, so most furniture designers, they really want to be able to put out their own designs, and I tell
Mm-hmm.
them you need to earn the right to put out your own designs. Before
Mm-hmm.
you do that, you need to work on custom stuff. I would have to say is that you probably earn the right to put out your own designs at this point, right?
I should hope so by now.
Um, however, the thing that I see, especially with putting out your own designs, is like is there's two markets. Like one is the A&D community, and the other part is like the direct to consumer. And so each of those has a different strategy, but it all depends on like who like what the end goal of like how do you want to end up working, right? And so like how sometimes it's easier to work with through a remodeler as a sub, and you get to sort of own the whole experience than they do the selling. And then at the same time you have the opportunity to work direct to consumer. It's a little bit more hand holding, a lot more tire kicking, a lot more sales, and right. And so like it all
But
depends
you
on,
keep more of the dollars.
yeah, you keep more of the dollars, right? So
Yeah.
with a furniture endeavor initiative, like what path would you want?
Are you asking me
I'm asking
literally?
you, yeah, literally.
I'm open to whatever. I think that and we've done it both ways. We just shipped a bunch of furniture off to like a corporate client in Utah,
Yeah.
and that came through an FF&E. company. Their job is to spec furniture,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And whatever else, carpets
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So the trick there is making sure that your price point is similar enough between if we're selling directly, say, to a restaurant, because we've had a number of projects where the restaurant says, we want you to build the millwork, and for that you're going to contract with the project management company.
Yeah.
It's Summit Design Build or whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they say, but we're going to buy the furniture from you directly.
For sure.
Yeah. And because there's no reason, they don't need to pay them to
do it. Yeah.
give.
Yeah.
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 And so the trick is like, how can you sell something, say, through a retail type of environment in which they have to mark it up. They have to
Yeah.
cover all of their overhead, like a course, and then they're finding the clients. So of course they deserve a piece of that as well.
Yeah. For sure.
But what I can't have them do is just double the cost of my chair.
Absolutely.
Because all of a sudden it becomes a $1,200 chair, and it's like, no one's going to pay that.
For sure. So to me, I would the simple approach that I would do is like, you have Navillus Woodworks, which is the custom furniture piece.
Mm-hmm.
I'd create a spin-off brand, Navillus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just, something similar. And you have small batch limited, you put your designs out and you treat it like it's a separate initiative attached to your whole entire business.
Yeah.
You have product drops that come out regularly, right? Like, and then you build a community and you do a lot of storytelling around the pieces that come out, and you do specific sort of marketing and branding and storytelling around that. I would find influencers, designers, people that can resonate with that community, literally bring them in, collaborate with them, create custom pieces with them, launch it through their community. And then I would have a separate tab on that same website that says, we're looking and growing our trade partners, right? Mm. And then you sort of treat it like it's this brand, like you've have, X amount of years, 15 years of building custom pieces for this community. And now you're dropping your own product line, and then allow for people to buy direct through you. And then I would find 10 different e-commerce websites where you create a piece for them. But if people want this specific brand or collaboration, they go through you, and you own the trade partners. That's the way I would do it.
Well, that is some very astute advice. I mean, all of that makes sense. And, it's not like you just invented that. That's the playbook. That's the playbook. But it's so hard to do all of that. And
sure.
All of that is like a real time commitment. It's a resource commitment.
Yeah.
Also finding that individual who, can represent your brand and do it in a way that I feel is, true to my voice.
Yeah.
I think that this landscape is evolving all of the time, but it goes back 100 years, in some variation or another of how to sell your product in a national and international stage.
For sure.
Yeah. I want to follow up with you, Steve. That was a lot of really good points, though. And you just laid it perfectly. So thank you.
Yeah, no, the honestly, the biggest thing is like every people, like, I've learned this myself. People like clarity, right? People want to know what they're going towards or how to engage in your business. And part of that is being able to make sure that you communicate your offer or your product or service to the right person at the right space. So like if you send them to Navillus Woodworks, they're like, it's beautiful. What do I do? Right. Whereas you go to, let's just say, the Navillus or whatever you want to call it, the Navillus brand, or, Navillus furniture. And people see like a table, a chair, a credenza, like they see it. Right. And they're like, oh, okay.
Right.
And then they're like, okay, they click it and they're like, 3 available, buy now.
Uh-huh.
And then next to it is like a video of the story
Uh-huh.
of how it's being made and the
Yep.
material selection and all of that sort of stuff. And then they can, like, you know what I mean? And like you can build and you can pump, like, start siphoning over your relationships and your followers from Navillus over to this brand. And you
Mm.
can have, like, I mean, you can have a lot of fun. You have the space for like a launch, right? Like there's so
Mhm.
many different things that you can do. So anyway, but was that helpful?
It was great.
Awesome.
You, like I said, you laid it out so clearly.
Yeah.
It's like steps 1 through 8, you
Well,
know?
it works. Yeah, it's the manpower that takes a lot, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, tell everybody your website.
NavillusWoodworks.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much, man. I have to come and check out your space now.
You are very welcome to.
For sure.
I highly encourage it. You're just 20 minutes away for
Yep.
sure. Let's arrange a shop visit.
Awesome. All right, man. I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Take it easy.
Bye.